They told you to prepare for the worst. But what if that's exactly what's holding you back? Here's why acting like everything always works out might be the most powerful mindset shift you'll ever make. You ever notice how some people just seem to attract success like magnets? It's not luck, it's not magic. It's something way simpler and way more powerful. They've cracked a code most people ignore. Acting as if everything always works out. Not naive optimism, not wishful thinking. A deliberate, unshakable certainty that changes how you think, act, and ultimately how life responds to you. Let's break it down. Most of us operate on fear-first mode. We over-prepare for failure. We brace for rejection. We stay realistic, which usually just means expecting the worst. And guess what? That energy shapes our actions and our results. But what if you flip the script? What if you started moving through life like the universe already agreed with your success? Your brain believes what you tell it. Let me tell you something that might sound crazy at first, but stick with me. Your brain can't tell the difference between what's real and what you consistently tell it is real. That's not some mystical nonsense, it's how we're wired. When you wake up every morning telling yourself today's gonna be tough, guess what? Your brain goes looking for proof that you're right. It highlights all the obstacles, magnifies every small problem, and pretty soon, yep, today is tough. But here's where it gets interesting. Flip that script. Start telling yourself things always work out for me and something wild happens. Your brain starts working overtime to make that true too. It spots opportunities you would have missed before. It comes up with creative solutions when problems arise. It notices the people who can help you instead of just the ones who might say no. This isn't positive thinking. This is strategic thinking. You're programming your most powerful tool, your mind, to work for you instead of against you. Think about the last time you had to do something scary. Maybe ask for a raise, go on a first date, or start a new project. Remember how you felt when you walked in thinking, I'm gonna mess this up? How'd that go? Now imagine if you'd walked in thinking, I've got this, even if you didn't fully believe it yet. The crazy part? Your performance would have been different because your brain would have been looking for ways to succeed instead of waiting to fail. This is why faking it till you make it actually works. But not in the way most people think. When you act as if you're already confident, already successful, already the kind of person who gets what they want, your brain starts collecting evidence to support that story. It's like giving your subconscious a treasure map where X marks success instead of failure. And your subconscious is really good at finding what it's told to look for. Here's how to use this today. Pick one area where you've been doubting yourself. Maybe it's I'm bad at public speaking, or I'll never make enough money. Now for just 1 week, start acting as if the opposite is true. Not in a delusional way. In a what would someone who believed this do way. The person who's great at speaking would practice daily. The person who always has enough money would track every dollar. Your brain will follow your actions and start believing the new story. And when your brain believes it, that's when the magic happens. Because here's the secret. Your brain isn't just observing reality, it's creating it based on what you tell it to look for. Give it better instructions, and it'll give you better results. Simple? Yes. Easy? Not always, but nothing worth having is. 2. Preparation nay paranoia. There's preparing, and then there's what most of us do, which isn't preparing at all. It's just worrying in disguise. Real preparation leaves you feeling ready. Fake preparation, aka paranoia, leaves you exhausted before you've even started. Know how to tell the difference? One comes from a place of strength, the other from fear. And fear is the worst coach you'll ever have. Let me show you what I mean. Say you've got a big presentation coming up. Preparation looks like practicing your speech, anticipating questions, maybe doing some research. Paranoia looks like imagining everyone laughing at you, obsessing over every possible mistake, losing sleep over things that will never happen. See the difference? One is useful work, the other is just mental torture. And here's the kicker. Both people might do the same amount of actual preparation, but the paranoid one will perform worse because they've burned all their energy on imaginary disaster. This is why so many talented people choke when it matters most. They didn't fail because they weren't ready. They failed because they spent all their readiness points on fear instead of focus. It's like showing up to a race having already run 10 miles in your head, Of course you're tired. Now think about the most confident person you know. Watch how they prepare. They don't ignore risks. They just don't worship them. They know that 90% of what we worry about never happens. And the other 10%, they'll handle it when it comes. That's not arrogance. That's efficiency. They save their energy for the actual game instead of practicing for disasters that won't show up. Here's how to fix this today. Next time you're preparing for something, check in with your body. Is your heart racing? Are your shoulders tense? That's not preparation. That's your body reacting to imaginary danger. Stop. Breathe. Ask yourself, what's actually likely to happen here? Then prepare for that, not for the horror movie version your fear is trying to sell you. Because here's what nobody tells you. The more you prepare for disaster, the more likely you are to create it. Walk into a job interview expecting them to grill you, and you'll give off nervous energy. Walk in expecting a good conversation, and you'll be someone they want to talk to. Same skills, different mindset, completely different outcome. The best performers in any field aren't the ones who never get nervous. They're the ones who don't let nerves drive the bus. They prepare thoroughly, then trust their preparation. They know that overthinking is just underperforming in disguise, and you can do the same. Starting with your very next challenge, prepare like someone who expects to succeed, not like someone braced for failure. Your results will thank you. Opportunities spot the confident. There is a silent rule in the world, one that isn't written in any book but is understood by those who move forward with ease. People give chances to those who look like they've already succeeded. It's not always about skill, experience, or even knowing the right people. It's about the way you carry yourself. Walk into a room like you belong there, and doors will open faster than if you hesitate, second guess, or shrink back. Think about the last time you saw someone who commanded attention without saying a word. Maybe it was the way they stood, the calm assurance in their movements, or the way they met the eyes of others without flinching. That kind of confidence is magnetic. It makes people believe in you before you've even spoken. And when people believe in you, they give you opportunities not because you've proven yourself yet, but because you look like the kind of person who can. This isn't about pretending. It's about embodying the belief that you have every right to be where you are, doing what you're doing. The moment you walk into a place as if you own it, not arrogantly, but with quiet certainty, people respond differently. They assume you know what you're doing. They assume you've been here before, and because of that assumption, they treat you differently. They listen more closely. They trust you faster. They give you chances they wouldn't give to someone who seems unsure. Doubt is the enemy of opportunity. The person who hesitates at the door, who questions whether they should even be in the room, who waits for permission, that person is overlooked. The world rewards those who move as if they've already earned their place. It doesn't mean you have to be loud or aggressive. It means you carry yourself with the unshakable belief that you belong. This principle applies everywhere. In business, in relationships, in every endeavor where people decide whether to trust you or pass you by. The job candidate who sits up straight, speaks clearly, and acts as if the position is already theirs will outshine the one who fidgets and stammers. The entrepreneur who presents their idea as if it's already a success will attract investors faster than the one who seems unsure. The artist who displays their work with pride will draw more eyes than the one who downplays their talent. Confidence is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you act as if you've done it before, the more others believe it, and the more you start to believe it yourself. And once you believe it, you do it. You take the chances others wouldn't. You step into rooms others wouldn't dare enter. You speak up when others stay silent. And because of that, you get the opportunities they never will. So walk into every room like you belong there, not because you're entitled, but because you've decided you're ready. The world doesn't give chances to those who wait for permission. It gives them to those who act like they've already earned them. Fear is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Have you ever noticed how worrying about stumbling makes you more likely to trip? How the fear of saying the wrong thing makes your words jumble? How the dread of failure seems to pull it closer? Fear has a way of shaping reality. What you focus on grows. If you feed your mind with worry, your body responds with tension. Your actions become clumsy, and suddenly the very thing you feared comes to pass. This isn't coincidence. It's the law of focus. Your mind amplifies whatever you give energy to. If you obsess over the possibility of failure, your thoughts race toward it. Your decisions bend around avoiding it, and your movements become stiff with the effort of preventing it. And in doing so, you create the conditions for failure. Fear doesn't just warn you of danger, it often creates the danger. Think of a tightrope walker. If they stare at the ground counting the ways they could fall, their balance wavers, their muscles tighten, their focus shifts from walking to not falling, and in that shift they lose their rhythm. But if they keep their eyes forward, moving with steady certainty, their body follows the path of confidence. The rope doesn't change. The skill doesn't disappear. The only difference is where they place their attention. The same is true in every area of life. The student who panics before an exam blanks out on answers they knew the night before. The speaker who fears embarrassment stumbles over words they've practiced 100 times. The athlete who worries about missing the shot tenses at the crucial moment and misses. It's not a lack of ability, it's the interference. But here's the flip side. Just as fear can drag you down, confidence can lift you. What you focus on expands. If you feed your mind with images of success, your body relaxes into the certainty of it. Your decisions flow from a place of strength rather than hesitation. Your actions become fluid because you're no longer fighting against invisible obstacles. You move towards something instead of away from fear. This isn't about blind optimism. It's about understanding that your mind shapes your reality. If you dwell on what could go wrong, you invite it. If you focus on what could go right, you make space for it. The choice isn't just about attitude, it's about result. The next time you feel fear creeping in, ask yourself, what am I feeding? Am I feeding doubt or am I feeding belief? Am I rehearsing failure or am I preparing for success? Because whatever you give energy to will grow. Fear will tighten your hands when you need them open. It will cloud your vision when you need clarity. It will whisper reasons to hesitate when you should move forward. But confidence quiets the noise. It steadies the hands. It clears the path. And most importantly, it changes outcomes. Not because the world bends to your will, but because your focus determines where you step. So choose wisely. What you fear, you invite. What you believe, you become. Fake it till you become it. There's a misunderstood phrase that carries more truth than most realize. Fake it till you become it. At first glance, it sounds like deception. Like putting on a mask and pretending to be something you're not. But that's not what it means. It's not about lying to others. It's about practicing the version of yourself that has already succeeded, long before your mind and body fully believe it. Think of it like this. Every skill you've ever learned started as an awkward imitation before it became natural. When you first learned to ride a bike, you wobbled, overcorrected, maybe even fell. But you kept moving as if you knew how to balance, and eventually your body caught up. The same applies to confidence, success, and even the way you carry yourself in the world. You don't wait until you feel ready. You act as if you already are, and over time your nervous system rewires to match. The brain doesn't distinguish between real and imagined action as sharply as we think. When you rehearse a speech in your mind over and over, the neural pathways strengthen just as they would if you were physically speaking. When you stand tall, speak firmly, and move with certainty. Even if you don't fully feel it, your body begins to accept it as truth. The more you do it, the less you're faking. The act itself becomes the training. This isn't about arrogance or pretending to know things you don't. It's about stepping into the posture, the tone, the habits of the person who has already achieved what you're aiming for. If you want to be a great public speaker, you don't wait until you're fearless to speak. You speak as if you're fearless, and the fear lessens with time. If you want to be a leader, you don't wait for a title to lead. You lead as if you already have the authority and people will respect. The body follows the mind, but sometimes the mind needs the body to lead. If you slump, hesitate, or speak softly, your brain receives signals of uncertainty. But if you stand straight, move deliberately, and speak with conviction, even if you have to force it at first, your brain starts to believe it. The feedback loop works both ways. Action changes belief just as much as belief changes action. This is why so many successful people seem to have an unshakable sense of self. It's not that they never doubted, it's that they acted in spite of doubt until doubt lost its power. They practiced the outer form of confidence until the inner feeling followed. They didn't wait for permission to become, they behaved as if they already were, and the world reflected it back. So if there's a version of yourself you want to become, start acting like it now. Not as a fraud, but as a sculptor shaping the raw material of your potential. The more you embody it, the more natural it becomes. And one day you'll realize you're not faking it anymore. You've become it. The as-if ripple effect. Every big achievement starts as a small decision. A single choice made as if the end result is already certain. The moment you start treating your goals as inevitabilities rather than possibilities, something shifts. You begin moving differently. You make different choices. Opportunities appear that were invisible before. This is the ripple effect of acting as if the subtle but powerful current that pulls you toward what you've decided is already yours. Most people wait for proof before they commit. They want to see signs of success before they invest fully, before they take the leap, before they truly believe. But that's backward. Proof doesn't create belief. Belief creates proof. When you operate from the assumption that your goal is already on its way, you start noticing resources, connections, and ideas that align with it. You stop hesitating and start acting. And those actions, no matter how small, compound. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it, you trust the process, and you act as if the harvest is coming. That certainty changes how you tend to it. The same goes for your ambition. The student who studies as if they'll ace the exam puts in more focused effort. The entrepreneur who builds as if their product will change the industry attracts the right partners. The artist who creates as if the world is waiting for their work produces with more passion. This isn't magical thinking. It's the law of motion. When you commit to a direction with full certainty, your brain stops wasting energy on second guessing and starts spotting shortcuts. You become more decisive. You say no to distractions fast. You recognize opportunities that were always there but seemed out of reach before. The ripple effect works because action reinforces belief, and belief fuels better action. A single decision to act as if can set off a chain reaction. You dress the part, and people take you more seriously. You speak with conviction, and others start to believe you. You invest time in your craft as if it's your life's work, and the quality of your output rises. Each step reinforces the next, building momentum. Doubt, on the other hand, creates the opposite ripple. Hesitation leads to half efforts, which lead to mediocre results, which confirm the fear of failure. But when you cut off doubt at the root, when you decide in advance that your goal is inevitable, every action afterward bends toward it. So don't wait for the conditions to be perfect. Don't wait until you feel ready. Act as if it's already done, and watch how the universe conspires to make it true. Small actions repeated with certainty create waves, and waves move mountains. 7. Failure is feedback, not fate. Failure is not the end. It is not a verdict on your worth or your potential. It is simply information, feedback that tells you what needs to change, what needs to be adjusted, or what needs to be tried differently. The most successful people in the world do not see failure as a stopping point. They see it as a stepping stone. Think of a child learning to walk. The child stumbles, falls, gets up, stumbles again, and keeps trying. No one tells the child, maybe walking isn't for you. No one says you've failed too many times, just give up. The child keeps going because the desire to walk is stronger than the fear of falling. Somewhere along the way, as we grow older, we forget this. We start believing that failure means we are not good enough, that it's a sign we should quit. But that is a lie. Every no you receive is not a rejection of you as a person. It is simply a redirection. Maybe the timing is off. Maybe the approach needs to shift. Maybe there's a better opportunity waiting just around the corner. The key is to keep moving. The moment you decide that failure is final, that it defines you, you give up your power. But when you see it as feedback, you remain in control. You learn, adjust, and try again. History is filled with stories of people who faced repeated setbacks before achieving greatness. Inventors, artists, entrepreneurs, they all faced moments where everything seemed to be against them. But they didn't stop. They didn't take failure as fate. They took it as a lesson. They asked, what can I learn from this, instead of why does this always happen to me? The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent or luck. It's persistence. It's the willingness to keep going when things don't work out the first time, or the 10th time, or even the 100th time. Every no brings you closer to a yes. Every closed door forces you to look for another way in. Every setback sharpens your skills, strengthens your resolve, and prepares you for what's coming. So the next time you face failure, don't crumble. Don't let it define you. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How can I use this to get better? Where do I go from here? Failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the journey. The only true failure is giving up. Everything else is just progress in disguise. Your vibe attracts your tribe. People are drawn to certainty. They are drawn to those who know where they're going, who carry themselves with confidence, who radiate the energy of this is happening. When you believe in yourself, others believe in you too. When you move with purpose, the right people, opportunities, and circumstances begin to align with you. Think about the people you admire, the ones who seem to have a magnetic pull. It's not just what they say, it's how they carry themselves. They don't beg for attention or approval. They don't doubt themselves out loud. They move as if success is inevitable, and because of that, others start to see it too. This isn't about arrogance or pretending. It's about conviction. It's about knowing deep down that you are on the right path, even if you haven't reached the destination yet. The world responds to energy. If you're hesitant, unsure, or constantly second-guessing yourself, you attract hesitation and uncertainty. Clients, partners, and opportunities will mirror your energy. But when you stand firm in your vision, when you speak and act as if what you want is already on its way, the right people take notice. They want to be part of what you're building. They trust you because you trust yourself. This doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out. It doesn't mean you won't face doubts or challenges. But it does mean you refuse to let those doubts dictate your actions. You show up as if success is certain, even when you're still working toward it. You don't wait for permission or validation. You create your own momentum, and in doing so, you attract those who resonate with that energy. Look at the most successful people in any field. They didn't wait for someone to tell them they were good enough. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They decided, they acted, and they carried themselves as if their success was inevitable. And because of that, others believed it too. Investors, collaborators, customers. They all follow certainty. They follow those who move with purpose. So ask yourself, what energy am I putting out? Do I act like someone who is still hoping for success, or someone who knows it's coming? The right people are out there, waiting to find you, but they won't recognize you unless you recognize yourself first. Stand firm in your vision. Move with confidence. Your vibe will attract your tribe. 9. Stress is optional. Most of the things we worry about never happen. The mind has a way of creating monsters out of shadows, turning small concerns into looming disasters. We lose sleep over conversations that never take place, over problems that never materialize, over outcomes that never come to pass. And yet we allow these imagined troubles to drain us, to weaken our focus, to steal our peace. The truth is, stress is not something that happens to us. It is something we choose, often without realizing it. Think about the last time you were truly stressed. What was the cause? A difficult situation or the fear of what might happen? A real problem or the anticipation of one? Most of the time, it's the latter. We spin stories in our heads, we rehearse disasters, we brace for impact, and then life unfolds in ways we never predicted. The meeting we feared goes smoothly. The difficult conversation turns out to be a breakthrough. The problem we obsessed over solves itself. And yet we spent days or weeks carrying the weight of something that never arrived. This doesn't mean challenges don't exist. Of course they do. Life will always present obstacles, setbacks, moments that test us. But here's the key difference. Real problems can be faced and dealt with. Imagined problems are endless, shifting, impossible to solve because they don't exist yet. The mind loves to prepare for the worst, but preparation is only useful if it leads to action. Worry without action is just self-inflicted suffering. So what's the alternative? How do we stop exhausting ourselves over things that may never happen? The answer is simple, though not always easy. Focus on what is real, not what is possible. Deal with what is in front of you, not what might be. When a worry arises, ask yourself, is this happening right now? If not, let it go. If it is, then act. Action dissolves anxiety. Movement kills fear. The moment you shift from worrying to doing, the weight lifts. And for those times when real challenges do come, because they will, you'll handle them better if you haven't spent all your energy on imaginary ones. A clear mind, a rested body, a calm spirit, these are your greatest tools in facing difficulty. Stress weakens you. Presence strengthens you. The more you train yourself to stay in the moment, the more you realize how much of your suffering was never necessary. This isn't about pretending life is easy. It's about recognizing that most of the weight we carry is our own creation. The mind is a powerful thing. It can conjure storms where there are none, or it can choose to see the sky as it is, sometimes clear, sometimes cloudy, but always changing. The storms you fear usually pass before they ever reach you, and the ones that do come, you'll meet them with strength you didn't know you had because you haven't wasted it fighting ghosts. So the next time you feel stress creeping in, ask yourself, is this real? Or is it just a story I'm telling myself? If it's real, act. If it's not, let it go. Save your energy for the battles that matter. The rest is just noise. Stress is not something that happens to you, it's something you allow. And that means you can choose differently. You can choose peace. You can choose presence. You can choose to stop fighting shadows and start living in the light of what is real. Life does not wait for the hesitant. It does not cater to the timid or the indecisive. It responds almost reverently to those who step forward with clarity and command, as if they are already wearing the crown of their own victory. And this truth has been proven again and again throughout the ages by men and women who earned greatness not because they were the smartest or the strongest, but because they decided faster, acted sooner, and stayed in motion when others stalled. Hesitation is the silent killer of dreams. Think for a moment of all the ideas never acted upon, all the businesses never started, the books never written, the inventions never built, not because they were bad ideas, but because the person who thought them up paused too long. They waited for perfect timing, for validation, they waited for someone to tell them it was okay to go, and while they waited, someone else acted. The world doesn't pause with the hesitant. It moves on. It gives the prize to the one who showed up ready. Life respects the person who trusts their instincts, makes a decision, and adapts as they go. You cannot steer a parked car, and you cannot refine a destiny that never begins. Decisiveness is the great activator. It is the trigger that sets every other success law in motion. Without it, all the knowledge, all the preparation, all the desire in the world is wasted. The person who waits until they're sure is always overtaken by the person who just started. History's greatest victories weren't won in safe deliberation. They were won in moments of bold choice. Consider the leader who charges forward before the enemy has time to set their defense. Consider the entrepreneur who launches before the market is crowded. Consider the artist who releases their work before it's perfect, and in doing so captures a rawness others can only imitate. That is the reward of decisiveness. It multiplies opportunity. It compounds courage. It creates momentum that makes future decisions easier. Because once you move, once you act, the world begins to rearrange itself around your energy. Do not confuse decisiveness with recklessness. The decisive individual is not someone who acts without thinking. They are simply someone who has trained themselves to think clearly and quickly. They don't dwell in doubt. They don't collect endless opinions. They measure the facts. They listen to their inner compass, and and if the decision turns out to be wrong, they adjust with speed rather than spiral into self-doubt. That too is a kind of decisiveness, being willing to pivot fast rather than stall and sulk. Most people aren't destroyed by their first bad decision. They're destroyed by their inability to recover from it. And here is a deeper truth. The world does not even reward the right decision as much as it rewards the fast one. The person who moves quickly can make 5 decisions in the time it takes another to make 1. Even if they get 2 wrong, they're still ahead. Why? Because they're in motion. They're learning through doing. They're gathering real feedback instead of theoretical analysis. They're gaining experience that can't be found in books or through thinking alone. The person who hesitates might avoid mistakes, but they also avoid progress. The decisive may stumble, but they stumble forward. Decisiveness is also magnetic. It draws people to you. When you are clear in what you want and quick to act, others feel it. They sense your certainty. They may not even agree with you, but they'll often follow you, because people crave leadership. They want to be around someone who makes things happen. The person who waits for consensus rarely inspires confidence. The one who decides with conviction, even under pressure, becomes the center of influence. In business, in war, in love, it is always the person who moves first, who defines the terms. There's a reason most successful people talk about instincts and gut decisions. It's not just poetic language. It's because the mind can be paralyzed by options, but the soul knows. Deep down, when you quiet the noise and strip away the fear, you almost always know what to do. The difference is that the successful don't argue with that knowing. They don't delay it. They don't need permission to follow it. They trust it and they move. It is that trust that gives them their edge, and over time it gives them their results. Fear of making the wrong decision is what holds most people back. But what they don't realize is that no decision is also a decision. It is a decision to stay in place, to surrender power to chance, and that path never leads to greatness. The person who decides may win or they may lose, but the person who does not decide has already lost, because they have given up their agency. They have surrendered their ability to shape the future. They have become a spectator in their own life, waiting for someone else to take the lead. If you want to build anything great, whether it's a career, a company, a relationship, a reputation, you must be decisive. You must be willing to commit, to move, to risk being wrong so you can eventually be right. And yes, there will be moments where the cost of the decision is high, but the cost of not deciding is always higher, because indecision breeds doubt. Doubt breeds delay, and delay breeds decay. Momentum dies, energy fades, opportunities pass, and all because someone didn't trust themselves enough to just choose. Every leader you admire, every innovator you study, every story of triumph you read, it always comes back to a moment where someone made a bold choice. They didn't have all the answers. They didn't wait for everything to be in place. They decided. They acted. And because they acted, the world responded. Doors opened. Help arrived. Forces aligned. Not because of magic, but because motion creates magnetism. When you step forward with clarity, life moves to meet you. So today, decide. Decide what you want. Decide what you're willing to risk. Decide who you are, and then move. Not when it's perfect, but when it's possible. Because possibility is the only permission you ever needed. The world belongs to those who move like it's already theirs. Here's the game changer. You don't act this way because everything's easy. Everything gets easier because you act this way. The moment you stop begging life for permission and start moving like the outcome's already yours, that's when the luck starts.